Before we explore some of the cures, I have to introduce this character in this plot known as serotonin. So, round of applause. Let's welcome serotonin. This is an ancient molecule that you have said has existed before the brain even existed.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's the history of serotonin, and then how did it get inducted in the family within the brain?
Yeah, it's a super interesting molecule. It's a tiny little, it's actually a tiny little amino acid derived molecule. It comes from the amino acid tryptophan. Tryptophan gets modified to form 5-hydroxytryptamine, which is serotonin. Okay, so it's been around, at our estimate, something like 3 billion years. So it's long before anything that looked like us was on this planet, long before anything that even had a nervous system was on the planet, right? So it's there at the very earliest. So part of that primordial soup that was happening when Earth was, 13 billion years ago is like the Big Bang. But like when Earth was around and we had, the first forms of organic matter showing up on this planet, you had along with it this molecule also in this cooked up mess of organic molecules and organic matter. But I think it becomes super interesting, and this idea was first put forth by a really interesting serotonin pharmacologist called Ephraim Asmitia, where he has an article he talks about the relationship between sunlight and serotonin. And he talks about it from the point of view that for all life to exist on this planet, you need to have the ability to trap light to convert it into chemical energy of food. Okay, that's the only way we get our nutrition, right? So plants, without which none of us would be here, have this phenomenal ability to take light energy and do photosynthesis and generate food, which all of us, all species consume, right? So now in the process of doing this, they have to have the ability to trap the sunlight, which is then going to get converted into some chemical or the other. That's going to be what you use to generate energy, right? So the way this happens is you have tryptophan is a light absorbing amino acid. And it's part of those molecules that do photosynthesis. It's part of the big proteins that are part of the photosynthetic centers. It traps the light, it makes food. Eventually, this is glucose. That glucose you and I are going to eat in some format, and we will use oxygen to burn it. And that's what's going to give us our cellular respiration that provides us the ATP to do anything that we want to do. Can't even move a muscle without it, right? So essential energy currency for evolution of all species on this planet. The problem with using light to trap sunlight like this and then generate these molecules is you also generate things that cause damage to cells. You generate free radicals, right? So that's a side effect. You can't help it. It just happens in the process of the chemical conversion. Now, those free radicals have a tendency to go and bang against all kinds of other molecules and cause damage to the cell, cause damage to the lipid membrane, that's the boundary condition of the cell, etc. So you have to find a way to at the same time clean up all this garbage that is being produced, the trash, this free radicals. So you have to find a scavenger, an antioxidant. So his idea is that he thinks about it as serotonin having been co-evolved along with tryptophan, which was involved in the trapping of light. Just modifying that tryptophan a little bit gives you 5-hydroxytryptamine, which is serotonin. Serotonin is an antioxidant-like molecule. It can reduce these free radicals and actually take care of things like superoxides, etc.
It's more than just a mood regulator, which is
an antioxidant.
which is like the mainstream perception of it, right?
Exactly.
There's a mood molecule. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's a mood molecule for sure, but there's nothing to have a mood with at that time. We're 3 billion years old, there's no species that's having a mood, right?
So the original function is different.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it doesn't even have, there's no species with neurons at that point in time. There's no nervous system, no brain, etc. So it comes in as an antioxidant, but antioxidants are basically stress busters. In a sense, they're allowing you to bust the stress created by these super radicals, etc., in the cell. And so they are cellular stress busters. At some point, this molecule gets co-opted in organisms that have developed a brain to become something that signals between cells, etc. Receptors show up, all this shows up many, many billion years later, like in the 750 million year range. So that's still several billion years of evolution where this is, without being in neurons. And then it gets co-opted in the nervous system as something that does a variety of things which are associated with stress busting, which is kind of interesting. Its original role was also stress handling in a cellular context. Now it's going into the nervous system to become a neurotransmitter that helps you buffer stress, respond to stress, buffer stress, handle stress, etc. Right? So it's an interesting molecule, and it just got co-opted. A lot of things in nature just moonlight as many different things.